Good day, ma'am. My name is Quinces Adrisa A.D. Malcolm, and I am the first reporters of Group 4. So our topic for today is all about the determinants of learning. So before we jump in our main topic, let us first identify or ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin ng determinants of learning. Para at the end of the lesson is mas maintindihan ninyo yung pinaka-pinopoint ng topic natin. So, when we say determinants of learning, ibig sabihin in the simplest definition according to my research is that yung determinants of learning po, yan yung mga bagay, kumbaga mga barriers, or in other words, mga factor na nakakahadlang sa pagkatuto ng isang tao. Like for example, if ikaw na estudyante na may problema sa pangitain or may problema sa panrinig like that, during or sa kalagitnaan ng klase ninyo, sa kalagitnaan ng lecture ninyo, which is nakikinig ka sa teacher mo, na kung saan may problema yung panrinig mo, na which is masyadong hindi mo naririnig, na which is yung moment na yon or yung moment na yun yung nagiging hadlang sa pagkatuto mo sa isang bagay, na which is nahihirapan kang intindihin dahil nga may problema ka sa panrinig mo. That is what we call the determinants of learning. Tumaga ba lahat ng mga bagay, yung determinants of learning, it's either nakakatulong or nakakahadlang yung factors na yon sa pagkatuto ng isang tao. Like for example, nakakatulong yung determinants of learning. Like for example, if yung environment mo is tahimik, malinis, maaliwalas, like that, so kapag nagsa-study ka is mas madali mong absorb or mas madali ka makafocus sa pinag-i-studyhan mo dahil nga sa environment na meron ka, na which is tahimik lang, na yun yung moment na yun yung factor kung bakit ka mabilis sa pagkatuto sa isang bagay. That is what we call the determinants of learning. So again, yung factors na yun, it's either problema mo sa iyong problema mo in your own physically, or it's either sa environment or sa paligid natin. So that is the determinants of learning. So before we jump again in our topic, let us first read the objectives. So by the end of the lesson, the learners should be able to explain the determinants of learning, so which is na-explain na natin kanina. So number 2, describe the categories of learners according to growth and development. Discuss the categories of learners according to stages of development. And 4, identify the categories of learners according to individual differences, intelligence, multiple intelligence, emotional intelligence, socio-economic status, culture, gender differences, at-risk students. 5. Explain the learning needs based on Maslow hierarchy of needs. And number 6, describe other learning needs. So, let's proceed to our next topic, which is the categories of learners according to growth and development. So, as stated there po sa PPT natin, so direct to the point na lang, which is the explanation, so, diretso na po sa explanation para hindi masyado mahaba yung ating discussion. So, when we say growth naman, yung paglaki at pagkuha ng kaalaman ng bata, pati na yung natural na pagdevelop ng katawan at isip. That is what we call the growth. And when we say naman development, yung sunod-sunod ng pagbabago sa bata dahil sa learning, experiences, and also sa paglaki ng isang bata, according to Egan 1994. So, ito naman yung mga factors na naka-influence intellectual development, which is number 1 is what we call the maturations. So, when we say maturation, in simplest word po, natural changes sa body at utak, dahil sa genes and sa environment natin. So, number 2 is the experience. Of course, natututo sa pagmamasid. Kumbaga, natututo tayo sa pag-o-observe sa mga bagay-bagay like that. At pakikipag-interact sa paligid. And the last one is what we call the learning. Ito naman yung pag-gain natin ng knowledge sa iba't ibang paraan. It's either sa books or it's either sa tao, like that. Example, yung skills, the values, and the attitude. So, going back po dun sa growth and development, so to clarify, so to elaborate po, when we say growth po, ibig sabihin, ito na yung pagbabago sa ating katawan. Like for example, nagbabago yung ating height, nagbabago yung ating boses, especially sa mga binata, mga kalalakihan like that. And also, may mga physical changes na nangyayari. Like for example, is lumalaki na yung hinaharap natin, naglulose tayo ng weight or nagigain tayo ng weight. That is what we call the growth. Yung development naman po, ibig sabihin, ito naman yung parang tinatawag nating character development. No, which is hindi lang yung physical na anyo nila yung nagbabago, but then pati na rin po yung pag-uugali nila based on their age po. So that is what we call development. So, next one is, again, the factors influencing intellectual development. So, dito naman po, ibig sabihin is that, which is, na-discuss na natin kanina that ito yung nakaka-epekto sa pag-iisip ng bata, which is the maturation, the experience, and the learning. So next one is the cognitive theory of Jean Piaget explains the development task each child passes through during the growth and development process. So by Wally and Wong 2006. Following are the learning tasks inherent in each stage. So ibig sabihin naman po dito, I will be discussing po yung mga bawat stages ng buhay natin. So we all know naman, or lahat naman tayo siguro is napagdaanan natin na maging infant, maging bata, maging teenager, and maging adult is papunta pa lang. So, but mostly yung mga nanay natin, like that. So, we all know naman sa bawat stages na yun is iba't iba yung pangangailangan ng bawat tao. Especially yung mga bata, yung mga matatanda, yung mga teenager, like that. So, isa-isahin natin yan based on my research rather. So, which is, una-una is the infancy. So, lahat naman tayo again is naging baby, which is 0 to 1 year old. So, dito naman is, a child first develops tuning sensory and motor capacities such as sight and hearing. So, it means that natututo ang baby gamit ang senses, like for example, the sense of smell, the sense of hearing, and motor skills nila. Yung like for example, yung paningin nila, yung panrinig nila, and also yung paghawak ng mga bagay-bagay. Like for example, yung kamay ng mother, like that. So, nakikilala nila ang mundo, which is direct interaction ng ating paligid. So, that is the infancy. So, usually, yung mga infancy is kapag ginagamit nila yung sense of smell nila para malaman nila if yung nanay ba talaga nila yung dinidedean nila or yung katabi nila, like that. So, that is the infancy. And usually, to sa infancy, of course, sensitive pa masyado sila. And, hindi pa gaano fully develop yung kanilang other parts of their body. Especially yung brain nila, yung pag-iisip nila, like that. So, nagpa-process pa lang habang tumatanda sila. Or habang as time goes by is lumalaki sila. And, nagde-develop at nagde-develop din sila. So, next is the toddler. So, usually yung toddler is 1 to 3 years old. So, dito naman is the pre-operational stage. So, direct to the point to my explanation. So, when you see toddler naman, so usually ito yung nakikita natin yung mga cute size ng mga bata, like that. So, pansin nyo na sobrang kukulit, at the same time is mga pa-baby good, like baby masyado sila, madali silang maiyak, or madali silang matakot, or something na nagiging soft-hearted sila sa isang bagay na to the point na madali silang nakakaiyak. So, dito naman nagsisimula na silang magsalita, of course. So, dahan-dahan na silang nakakabuo ng mga words, like for example, mama, papa, like that, dahil sa environment, or dahil sa sounds na environment na naririnig nila, or ingay na environment na naririnig nila, at maintindihan ang word. So, dahan-dahan din silang nakakaintindi ng mga salita, mga words like that. Like for example, opo, ganyan. So, which is alam nila kung anong meaning ng opo. So, thinking nila ay based sa nakikita at nararanasan lang nila compare sa atin na mas ginugugol natin, like for example is mas gusto, parang kapag naisip natin yung isang bagay o nararanasan yung isang bagay, yun nga, thinking nila ay yung pag-iisip pala nila is based lang sa nakikita, and also sa mga, like for example, sa mga na-observe nila and sa mga na-experience nila. So, kaya na nilang i-group ang objects, yung mga bagay-bagay. Like for example, toys versus hindi toys. Like for example, is kaya nilang i-separate yung dalawang bagay. Like for example, if ito is damit lang, itong damit lang to siya. Pero kapag toys lahat ito siya. So, ganun siya. Pero hindi pa nila naiintindihan ang abstract ideas tulad ng mga values. Tumaga ba, hindi pa nila gaano alam kung gaano ba kahalaga yung respeto, like that, sa respeto sa tao, like for example, tulad ng values, like that. So, mga katangian, or ito naman yung mga characteristic ng toddler. So, we have the egocentric, which is, when we say egocentric naman, is parang nakafocus lang sila sa sarili nila. So, usually, gumagamit ng symbols para ipakita ang bagay. Gumagamit sila ng mga symbols or mga object, like for example, is like for example, yung parang square or rectangle na or di kaya yung remote, which is yung remote is ginagawa nilang telephone. Kumaga, parang nilararuan nila, pero hindi as in gina-assume nila na parang ina-assume nila na yun yung cellphone nila sa paglalaro nila with their friends. So that is the one of the characteristic of the toddler. And the next one is a concrete reasoning. So, ibig sabihin, which means that in the simplest word is conclusions. Conclusions based sa nakikita lang. Tumaga, nagdadirect na sila sa conclusion sa nakikita nila. So, like for example, umuulan, like that. So, akala nila is umuulan lang. So, hindi nila alam is may reason kung bakit umuulan. So, direct to the point na lang yung conclusion nila based nga sa nakikita nila or na-observe nila sa environment. So, and also, madalas din silang palaging nagsasabi ng no. So, yun siya. Always say no sa mga bagay. Like, for example, tulog na, always siyang magsabi ng no. Like that, kumain ka ng gulay, kumain ka ng ganito, sabi niya, no, ganyan. So, mostly, ganitong age is sobrang kukulit. That's why, parati silang nagsasabi ng no, dahil nga mga pasaway silang bata. So, which is understandable naman, dahil nga toddler sila. So, active at curious. So, ibig sabihin, is paulit-ulit ang action. So, paulit-ulit din yung tanong sa mga bagay-bagay, paulit-ulit silang paulit-ulit nilang binabanggit yung words like that. So, hindi pa alam, next one is parang hindi pa alam ang time, past, present, future, and medyo confusing pa. So, wala pa silang knowledge or hindi pa gaano ka open yung knowledge nila about the past, present, future, and also, which is medyo confusing pa sa kanila. So, the next one is the preschooler. So, dito naman is about 3 to 7 years old, which is the perceptual, intuitive thought stage. So, dito naman po is the, so, I will direct to my explanation. So, adjust na ang ideas nila ay reality pero limitado pa rin. And the centration, focus sa isang part ng situation. So, nakafocus lang sila sa isang part ng situation nila and hindi pa kaya i-imagine ang step by step ang changes. So, hindi pa nila tumaga parang like for example sa ice. So, ang kala nila is natutunaw na bigla-bigla yung ice, but then hindi pa nila alam kung bakit natutunaw or bakit nag-transform yung ice into liquid. So, yun siya. And hindi pa kaya i-reverse ang action sa isip. So, irreversibility, hindi pa nila yung kaya. And also, solve problems based sa nakikita o narinig at hindi pa gaano ka-logic yung pag-iisip nila. So, tumaga ba, hindi pa ganun kalawak yung idea nila o yung skills nila para i-solve yung isang problems. So, usually based lang sa nakikita or naririnig nila. So, next one is a school age, it's about 7 to 12 years old. So, concrete operation stage. So, dito naman po is mas, in the, direct to the point, is mas logical or mas logic na yung thinking o yung pag-iisip nila and mas naiintindihan na nila yung nangyayari dito sa mundo. And also, kaya na nilang isolve yung real life problems na pinagdadaanan nila or na-encounter nila gamit yung kanilang ideas or problem-solving skills. And inductive reasoning, ibig sabihin, mula sa specific papunta sa general ideas. So, it means, if yung specific na ideas na yun is mas nagiging or kaya na nilang i-general or kaya na nilang i-widen pa or i-broaden pa like that. And logical na thinking, base sa reason, and hindi lang sa nakikita o yung hindi lang sa kanilang nakikita or hindi lang sa kanilang na-observe. And also, naiintindihan na ang concept of time, past, present, and future. So, ibig sabihin, awareness sila na ito nangyari na, ito hindi pa, and ito is mangyayari pa lang. So, mangyayari pa lang. And the next one is what we call the pubescent or the adolescent, which is about 12 to 20 years old. So, formal operational thought. So, dito naman sa stage na ito is ang mga kabataan or yung mga youth kaya nang mag-isip ng mas logic at scientific. So, kaya na nilang mag-solve ng mga what if like that o hypothetical problems at naiintindihan na nila kung ano ba yung cause ng effect ng isang bagay. Ibig sabihin, mas mature at advanced na ang kanilang pag-iisip kumpara noong bata pa sila is very immature pa. Which is normal thing na sa atin yung sa paglaki or sa part or sa journey ng paglaki ng isang tao. So, next one is the middle adulthood. So, it's about 40 to 60 years old. So, cooperative relations. So, dito naman sa middle adulthood, nakatutok or nakafocus ang tao sa life goals life goals at personal interest or sa mga gustong makamit ng isang tao. So family at career centered sila. So tumaga yung family is and yung career is doon sila pinaka nakafocus, hindi sa mga bagay-bagay na magbo-boyfriend, mag-girlfriend, like that. So, but then, doon lang sila, or yun yung pinaka-center nila, which is yung family and yung career nila. So, ibig sabihin, importante sa kanila ang pamilya and also yung trabaho. Kasi, kapag wala silang trabaho, of course, ano yung may papakain nila sa pamilya niya. So, that is the reason kung bakit one of the center nila is yung career nila. So, dito rin nakikita ang self-control, stability, at pagiging independent, na kung saan dito is budgeted na yung budget ninyo, like that. So, which is nakakapagtipid siya or nako-control na yung sarili niya na huwag masyadong magastos since nga may pamilya siyang binubuhay, and also yung pagiging independent na kung saan hindi mo na kailangan ng ibang tao para tulungan ka sa mga bagay na ganito, ganyan, but then you can be have yourself na lang sa mga bagay na dinadaanan or sa mga problemang hinaharap mo. So, next one is the late adulthood. It is about 60 to 80 years old. So, dito naman is the absence of any constraining influence. So, sa late adulthood naman is natututo silang i-adjust ang sarili sa pagiging mag-isa at minsan umaasa sa ibang tao. So, may mga experiences din sila ng pagkawala ng mga mahal sa buhay, na usually is yung mga lola nila, lolo nila, o hindi lang lolo and lola, but then hindi natin alam yung mga ibang family members niya, like for example yung anak niya, mali mo, like that. So kasi yung buhay naman is hindi lang siya nakabase base sa age natin. It doesn't mean na matanda ka is mamamatay ka. So, lahat tayo is mamamatay. So, which is, most of the time, is nararanasan ito ng mga late adulthood, which is 60 to 80 years old, and 80 years old and above. And the last one is what we call the sinsin. Since 80 years old and older. So, ibig sabihin, 80 plus. So, papuntang 90 plus, like that. So, dito naman, pagdating sa 80 years old, pataas, mas naging reflective na ang mga matatanda. Yung mga older, yung mga matatanda sa kanilang buhay or sa buhay nila. And also, natututo rin sila tanggapin yung mga nagawa nila before na maganda, and also yung mga nagawa nila before na pagkakamali, yung mga mistakes nila, yung mga failure nila, like that. So, importante, and also dito sa stage na ito, is importante dito yung ego integrity, which means that, yung pakiramdam na satisfaction at peace sa sarili, sa lahat na nangyayari sa buhay nila, or sa lahat ng mga bagay na hinaharap nila, or yung mga blessings, or yung mga downs and ups sa mga buhay nila. So, kapag nararamdaman nila to, is mas konti na yung takot nila sa kamatayan, at mas mapayapa ang pakiramdam nila. So, and also additionally, that yung mga and also din that yung mga matatanda kasi is masyadong sensitive sila pagdating sa mga pananalita natin, like that. So, kaya be careful lang tayo sa mga words natin, kasi hindi natin alam na nasasaktan na pala sila. Dahil nga, nasasaktan na sila dahil sa katandaan nila is mas nagiging emotion sila sa isang bagay, or kahit sa anumang bagay. So, and that's all for my report po. Again, my name is Princess Adrisa A.D. Malcolm, and one of the reporters of Group 4.
So now let's proceed to the categories of learners based on individual differences. So first is we have the intelligence. So what is intelligence? So ang intelligence is yan yung sinasabi nilang katalinuhan. So ang intelligence is yan yung tumutulong sa atin para matuto at maintindihan natin ang bagay, and also to solve problems. So intelligence is comes from our genetics or family traits and the world around us. So sa environment natin, like kung saan ba tayo lumaki at kung paano ba tayo natuto or tinuruan. So malalaman natin na may intelligence yung isang tao kapag mabilis siya matuto. So some of the student kasi is mabilis nila matutunan yung isang bagay without without even need extra support or extra time. Unlike sa other student na kailangan pa nila ng oras or extra support para lang matuto. So, here are the ways teacher can adjust their learnings or teachings. So, first is we have the flexible time requirements. So, ang ibig sabihin nito is yung time management. Yung iba't ibang student kasi is need nila ng different amount of time para ma-understand yung topic or bagay. So for example is yung teacher is nagbigay siya ng project. So within 30 minutes is kailangan ma-solve yung project na yon. So yung student na with high intelligence is kaya niya isolve yung problem within 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Unlike sa isang student na slow learner is need niya pa ng extra time para ma-solve yung problems, like 45 minutes. So, hindi niya kaya isolve yung problem within 30 minutes. So, second is the increased instructional support. So, ang ibig sabihin nito is yung mga estudyante na masyadong slow learner. So, kailangan nila ng extra help para ma-solve yung problems nila. So, for example is, yung teacher is nagbigay siya ng instructions. So, medyo confused yung mga students. So, ang ginawa niya is, ging-explain niya step by step. Kumbaga, each step, ging-explain niya talaga ng klaro or slowly para lang maintindihan ng mga student bago niya tanungin yung student na gumawa ng kanilang activities. So third is the strategy instruction. So ang ibig sabihin nito is yung mga learners or good learners use smart ways to make learning easier. So means gumagamit sila ng method or strategy para mabilis nila maintindihan yung mga topic. So teacher can teach this way to all students. So next is peer tutoring. So ang ibig sabihin nito is yung mga student na fast learner is matutulungan din nila or tinutulungan din nila yung mga student na slow learner or yung mga student na kailangan nila ng extra time para matuto or masalba yung problem. Kasi yung mga fast learner is alam na nila agad kung ano ba yung subject or kung paano ba isolve yung subject. So, for example, is yung teacher is nag-group siya ng 2 people or 2 pair is yung isang student is fast learner. So, yung isa naman is slow learner. So, yung fast learner is tinutulungan niya kung yung kasama niya kung paano ba isolve ng mas mabilis yung problem. And kung paano ba yung idea or method niya para ma-solve yung problem agad. So next is cooperative learning. So what it means? So yung student is nag-work sila together sa isang grupo and everyone benefits. So even the one helping others learn more. So even yung nag-help na fast learner is nakaka-benefits din siya sa ka-group niya or kasama niya. Now, let's proceed to the multiple intelligences, epistemology, and axiology. So, first, let's discuss the multiple intelligence theory. So, Dr. Howard Gardner from Harvard University made this theory. He said the old idea of being smart, like just being good at books or numbers, is too small. Instead, he said there are 8 different kinds of intelligence. Each person is strong in some and not as strong in others. So here are the 8 types of intelligence. So first, let's have the verbal linguistic intelligence. So ito yung mga taong magaling sa salita, magaling sa pagbabasa, magaling sa pagsusulat, magaling sa pagkukwento ng stories, and magaling sila mag-remember ng mga or madali sila maka-remember ng words. The next is the logical, mathematical intelligence. From the word mathematical. So magaling sila sa number or reasoning smart. So ang ibig sabihin nito, ito yung mga taong magaling sa logic, solving problems step by step, understanding the ideas without pictures, and working with numbers. So more focus sila sa numbers and problem solving. So next is the spatial intelligence. So ito naman yung mga taong magaling sa pictures. Magaling sila mag-imagine sa kanilang utak or madali sila maka-remember ng mga bagay-bagay sa kanilang utak. Like doing art and finding your way around places. So next is bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So magaling naman to sila sa body. So magaling sila sa pag-move. Ito yung mga taong magaling sa pag-move ng katawan, and magaling din sila sa mga sport, dancing, or activities na kailangan ng physical skill, kailangan ng katawan. So next is the musical intelligence. So from the word musical, magaling sila sa music. So magaling sila kumanta, magaling sila gumawa ng songs, and mag-play ng musical instrument. So next is the interpersonal intelligence. So ito naman yung mga taong matatalino. So which means is magaling sila makipag-usap sa ibang tao, and naiintindihan nila kung ano ba yung nafe-feel or nararamdaman ng isang tao. And working out problems between others. Then next is intrapersonal intelligence. So ang ibig sabihin nito is self-smart. So ito yung mga tao na kilala nila yung sarili nila, and naiintindihan nila mismo yung sarili nila. Alam nila kung ano yung feelings nila, ano yung strength nila, and ano yung weaknesses nila. Then last is the naturalistic intelligence. So ito naman yung mga taong magaling sila or matalino sila pagdating sa nature. So, matalino sila sa plants, animals, and mga bagay-bagay na related sa nature. Like, nagsistudy sila sa environment or living things. So now let's have the epistemology. So, this is a big word for how we know what we know. It's about understanding what knowledge is and the different ways we learn or understand things. So first, let's have the conceptual knowledge. So ang ibig sabihin nito is alam mo yung ideas or bagay even though hindi mo siya nakita. So for example, alam mo yung word na freedom pero hindi mo siya nahawakan or nakita. You understand the idea of how people should be able to make their own choices. So, yun yung example ng conceptual knowledge. So, second is perceptual knowledge. So, ang ibig sabihin nito is knowing something from what you can see, or naririnig mo, nahahawakan mo, or naaamoy mo. So, for example, alam mo na mainit yung apoy kasi nahawakan mo na siya before, or accidentally nahawakan mo siya before. Or, yung apple is, alam mo na red siya kasi nakita mo na siya before. So, that is what we call the perceptual knowledge. So, third is intuitive knowledge. So, ang ibig sabihin is, alam mo na yung bagay na totoo without having to think about it or prove it. Hindi mo kailangan ng ebidensya para patunayan yung alam mo. Like for example, may nakita ka or na-meet kang tao is parang nagkakaroon ka ng feeling na they are kind. Hindi mo siya ma-explain kasi nafe-feel mo lang siya. So, hindi mo na kailangan ng ebidensya para masabi na mabait sila. You just feel that they are kind, but you just know it. So, that is what intuitive knowledge is. So, number 3 is axiology. So, ang means naman nito is about understanding kung ano ba yung right and wrong and kung paano ba tayo magde-decide ng decision kung right and wrong ba. So, how we decide the difference between them. It's about values, what we think is important or good. So, for example, is yung sa klase nyo is nag-decide siya kung whether use plastic cup or reusable cups for the school fair. So, yung axiology is tinutulungan ka niya kung para isipin kung ano ba yung tama. Yung plastic cup ba na madali lang siya pero ano siya ng environment, nakakasira siya ng environment, while yung reusable cups is pinagtatrabahuan siya or matrabaho siya na bagay pero better siya for nature. So you talk about it as class and decided reusable cups are. So that what axiology is. Tinutulungan ka niya para magdesisyon ng right and wrong. Thank you.
Good day, ma'am. So today we're going to discuss my topic. So my name is Hartelyn Diaz Buludan. So first is the axiology. So axiology is a key branch of philosophy focused entirely on the study of value. It is essentially a broad theory of what things are considered good or bad in life. So the field aims of understand why we assign worth to different concept and objects. So next one is the aesthetic. So the aesthetic is the specific study of moral values dealing with the principle of right and wrong human conduct. It provides the framework determine the moral behavior and how one should act in society. Next is the three other intelligence, which is the spiritual intelligence, existential intelligence, and the moral intelligence. So first is the spiritual intelligence. So this refers to an awareness of spiritual values and principle connection to a sense of purpose and the broader meaning of life. So the next is the existential intelligence. So this involves the capacity for deep thinking about human existence, including contemplating life, death, and the nature of reality. So the last one is the moral intelligence. So this is the knowledge of what constitute good virus bad behavior or guiding a person's ethical compass and decision making. And next is the emotional intelligence. So the emotional intelligence is ito na yung kakayahang umunawa, kontrolin at gamitin ng tama ang emotion, pati na rin ang emotion ng iba. And also tumutulong din ito upang mas maayos na harapin ang mga damdamin at makitungo sa kapwa at magkaroon ng positibong relasyon. So, ayon kay Daniel Goleman, may 5 siyang binahagi na emotional intelligence. First is the self-awareness. Self-awareness is yan na yung alam at nauunawaan mo ang sarili mong emotion. And alam mo din kung paano nakakaapekto ang iyong damdamin sa iyong pag-iisip at kilos. For example na lang ito, yung alam mong naiirita ka pero kailangan mong magpahinga ka muna bago ka mag-fix ng decisions. And also, next one is the self-management. So, the self-management is siya na yung kakayahang kontrolin ang iyong emotion at ang iyong sarili. And also, magiging manatiling kalmado ka. And also, pagiging tapat, responsible at madaling umangkop sa pagbabago. For example na lang dito ay yung hindi agad nagagalit kahit may hindi magandang nangyayari sa kabila or sa iba. Next is the motivation. So, the motivation is, yan na yung paggamit ng emotion para manatiling determinado sa mga layunin. So, or pagpupursigi at pagiging positive kahit may pagkabigo. For example na lang is yung patuloy kang nagsisikap sa pag-aaral kahit na nabigo ka nung una mong pagsubok. And next naman po is yung empathy. So the empathy is yan na yung pag-unawa at pagdama sa nararamdaman ng iba. So ang pagiging sensitibo sa kanilang sa kanilang pangangailangan at emotion. And for example na lang po ito is yung pagpakita at malasakit sa kaibigang nalulungkot or may problema siyang dinadala. Next is the empathy. So the empathy is yan yung pag-unawa at pagdama ng nararamdaman ng iba, and also ang pagiging sensitibo sa kanilang pangangailangan at emotion. For example na lang ito ay yung pagpakita ng malasakit sa kaibigan or nalulungkot na may dala-dala siyang problem. Next is the social skills. So, the social skills is yan yung kakayahang bumuo at mapanatili ang mabuting ugnayan sa iba. And kasama rin rito ang epektibong pakikipag-usap, pagtutulungan at pamumuno. For example na lang dito is yung pagsasama-sama ng isang grupo at para makamit ang isang layunin o yung isang pinapangarap nilang makamit. May 5 halimbawa ang social skills, which is the influence, communication, leadership, building bonds, and the collaboration and cooperation, and the group synergy. So the first is the influence. So the influence is yan yung pagpapaniwala sa iba at positibong paraan. And the communication naman is yan yung pakikinig at malinaw na pagpapahayag ng idea. And also naman sa leadership is yan yung pagbibigay inspirasyon at gabay sa iba. And also the building bonds naman po is the inspiration at pagpapahayag ng idea. And the collaboration and cooperation is yan yung sama-samang paggawa para sa isang layunin. And the group and synergy naman is yan na yung or pagkakaisa sa grupo is yan na yung pagkakaisa ng mga tao upang makamit nila ang tagumpay o yung gusto nilang layunin na matutupad po. So next is the socio-economic status. Socio-economic status is also known as SES, is a way of describing a family's position or level in society. So it shows how families differ from one another based on important social and economic factors. So SES is mainly determined by 3 things. The first is the family income, which refers to how much money a family earns. So income affect family ability to provide basic needs such as food, housing, healthcare, and other daily expenses. So the second one is the factor is occupation, or the type of work that family members do some jobs provides higher income. So after limited financial security is occupation also reflect as a person's role and status in society. So the third is the factor is education level. So education plays an important role because higher educational statement often lead to better job opportunities and higher income. Next is the cultural communication. So, cultural communication refers to the shared belief, customs, and behavior patterns that define a social group. So, this shared pattern is help members to the group understand each other and interact smoothly. So, meron dalawang different uh, ang cultural, so which is the different treatment and the stereotyping. So the first is the different treatment. So this happen when teachers or society may treat boys and girls unequally. So for example is a teacher might call on boy more often for a science question and than girls. So the next one is the stereotyping. So the stereotyping is this involves assign fixed rules or traits to boys and girls. So common example include the assumption that boys are strong while girls are gentle. So next is the at-risk student. So are individual who may fail academically or drop out of school unless they receive additional support or help. So this term refers to students who face various challenges, often stemming from socio-economic factors, learning disability or personal circumstance which put them at a higher risk of negative educational outcomes and compared to their peers.
Learning needs based on Maslow hierarchy of needs. So, number 1, deficiency needs. Ito yung mga basic needs na kailangan matutunan o gawin muna bago makapag-focus ang isang tao sa pag-aaral. Kapag kulang sa tulog, pagkain o pakiramdam ng seguridad ng estudyante, mahihirapan siyang mag-concentrate dahil inuuna ng katawan ang mga pangunahing pangangailangan. So, 1, survival, shelter, warm food, water. Halimbawa, kung gutom mo puyat ang estudyante, mahirapan siyang mag-focus sa lesson. Kaya mas importante na unahin muna natin ang ating basic needs. Kasi halimbawa, kulang tayo sa tulog, hindi tayo nakaka-focus sa lesson natin o sa mga gawain natin. Dahil parang gustong-gusto ng katawan natin na matulog or like inaantok talaga tayo. Tapos may mga times pa na hindi natin nakokontrol talaga yung sarili natin kaya mas nasusunod siya. Ganon. Katulad pag gutom ka, di ba pag once na gutom ang isang tao kay mahapdi na yung tiyan, marami nang gusto gawin, gusto na talaga magkain. So, yun, nawawalan siya ng focus. So, next, safety. Freedom from emotional and physical threat. So, kapag ligtas at comfortable lang estudyante, kapag ligtas and comfortable lang estudyante, especially sa school and sa house nila, mas madali siyang makapag-aral. Kasi wala siyang iniisip. So parang assurance sa sarili niya na parang okay yung, kunyari, pag sa bahay nyo, kailangan comfortable ka or like ligtas ka kasi hindi mo kailangan isipin kung ano bang ginagawa nila or like kung may mga may sakit ba or yung mga ganun. So parang may assurance ka sa sarili mo na hindi mo kailangan hindi mo kailangan isipin or like mag-alala sa mga mahal mo sa buhay, ganun. So next, belonging, love and acceptance. Mas ganado ang estudyante mag-aral kapag nararamdaman niyang tanggap siya ng teacher, classmate at pamilya. And sense of belonging nakakatulong para tumaas ang self-confidence. Di ba pag once na parang, pag na-appreciate tayo or like kapag ginamotivate tayo ng isang tao, kaya di ba mas lalong nagataas ang confidence natin gawin ito, yung mga ganun, kasi alam mo sa sarili mo na kaya mo siyang gawin, and parang nakikitaan ka ng mga tao na kaya mo talaga siyang gawin, kaya importante yun. So, number 2, growth needs. Ito naman yung mga pangangailangan, tumutulong sa personal na pag-unlad, kapag natugunan ang basic needs, gusto na ng tao na mag-grow at matuto. So, first, self-esteem, recognition of approval. So, gusto ng learners na ma-recognize at mapansin ang effort nila. Kapag pinupuri sila, lalo silang naeengganyong mag-aral. 'Di ba? Katulad sa atin, 'di ba? Tayo pag once na a-appreciate tayo ng mga teacher or like mga classmate natin, mas lalo tayong nagaganahan gawin ang isang bagay kasi alam natin na na-appreciate tayo and alam natin na tama yung ginagawa natin. So, ganun siya. So, next, intellectual achievement, knowing and understanding. Natural sa tao ang pagiging curious. Gusto ng mga estudyante na matuto at maintindihan ng mga bagay sa paligid nila at kapag nagagawa nila yon, mas nagiging masaya at motivated silang matuto. 'Di ba? Katulad sa atin, kapag alam natin na kaya natin yung isang bagay or like nagagawa natin yung isang bagay, mas lalo tayong namomotivate para gawin pa yung yung ibang gawain natin. So ganun siya. So, implications of the hierarchy of need to education. So, A, kapag hindi natugunan ng mga estudyante ang kanyang basic need tulad ng pagkain at pahinga, mababa ang motivation niya sa pag-aaral. So, di ba pag hindi tayo nakakakain or like hindi tayo nakakatulog ng maayos or like hindi natin nagago yung mga basic needs natin as a human, 'di ba mas lalo tayong nawawalan ng gana, mas lalo tayong nawawalan ng motivation. 'Di ba meron sa atin, like ako, minsan pag kulang ako sa kain or kulang ako sa tulog, nawawalan ako ng gana, like nababad trip ako, ayoko kausapin yung ibang tao. So yun, ganun siya. So B, ang mga estudyante kulang sa sense of security o pakiramdam na kaligtasan ay mas mahirap matuto. Kaya mahalaga na may safe at supportive environment sa school. So, di ba kapag ma-feel natin na hindi tayo safe or like hindi tayo sinusuportahan ng mga kaibigan natin or like family natin, di ba parang mas lalo tayong nawawala ng gana na gawin yung mga bagay-bagay na gusto natin kasi alam natin na parang walang naniniwala sa atin or walang taong nandyan para pakinggan or suportahan tayo sa isang bagay. So, ganun siya. So, C, ang growth needs ay nakakapagbigay ng energy at direction sa learning. Dito pumapasok ang papel ng teacher dito pumapasok ang isang teacher na nagbibigay ng activities na nakakapag-inspire at nakakapagpahusay ng creativity ng mga bata. So, 'di ba pag once na meron tayong group or like individual activity, 'di ba mas lalo nating napapakita yung mga skills natin, mas lalo tayong nagiging creative as a student, 'di ba? Kasi the more na nagiging creative ka, the more na nagugustuhan ng mga teacher 'yan. I mean, hindi man lahat ng teacher, pero karamihan sa mga teacher mas gusto nila na creative tayo sa mga assignment or sa mga peta natin. Kasi bilang estudyante, nakakatulong yun. Lalo sa grades natin. Kaya diba, may mga times na pag creative yung ginagawa natin, kaya mas lalo tayong nakakakuha ng matataas na points. So, ganun. Kapag creative ka. So, last, D, totoong motivation ay nangyayari kapag naiintindihan ng estudyante kung paano konektado ang lesson sa totoong buhay. Kapag nakikita nila ang purpose ng pinag-aaralan nila, mas nagiging interesado at masipag sila. So, yun na nga. So, di ba kapag, kung parang, anong tawag dun? Kapag nai-experience natin or like pag nai-imagine natin yung lesson or yung yung lesson natin, 'di ba? Mas lalo natin siyang naiintindihan kasi parang yun, mas lalo natin siyang naiintindihan kaya parang mas gina-connect natin siya sa sarili natin. 'Di ba ganun man din dapat ang gawin natin as a student para mas lalo natin maintindihan yung lesson natin, parang i-imagine natin siya na ginagawa natin siya or nagagawa na natin siya, yung mga ganun. So, yan. So, other learning needs. Number 1, the need for competence. So, natural sa tao ang gustong maging magaling o mahasa sa isang bagay. Kapag nakakamit ng estudyante ang mastery sa isang task, tumataas ang tiwala niya sa sarili. Ito rin ang nagbibigay sa kanya ng lakas ng loob para matuloy na matuto, lalo na sa mabilis magbago ng panahon ngayon. So, di ba kapag once na mataas yung nakukuha nating score or points, mas lalo tayong nagiging motivated sa buhay para gawin yung ibang bagay, and mas lalo tayong nagiging motivate na mag-study sa ibang lesson natin. 'Di ba? Mas nagiging energetic tayo kapag minsan nagiging kompetensya natin yung mga kaibigan natin, kaklase natin, kasi ayaw natin na, sa totoo lang, ayaw natin na malamangan nila tayo kasi alam natin sa sarili natin na kaya natin gawin. So, bakit natin hayaan yung sarili natin na maapak-apakan, di ba? Kaya mas lalong nagiging motivated yung mga student. Kaya ganun yung naiisip nila. Which is, minsan tama din siya na gawin yun, minsan naman hindi. Pag alam mo sa sarili mo na tama yung ginagawa mo, go lang. Pero pag alam mo sa sarili mo na mali ka na at may naaapakan ka, kailangan mo na mag-adjust. Kailangan mo nang matuto sa mga iba't ibang bagay, or like kailangan mo na kausapin ang sarili mo na mali na ang ginagawa mo, ganon. So ganon siya. So number 2, the need for control and self-determination. So bilang tao, gusto nating may control o choice sa mga ginagawa natin. Ganito rin sa pag-aaral. Kapag nabibigyan ng chance ang estudyante na magbigay ng opinion o suggestion, mas nagiging responsible at motivated siya. Pwedeng gawin ito ng teacher sa pamamagitan ng open discussion at feedback season. So, di ba kapag ang mga teacher natin kaya nag-explain sa harapan, di ba nagabigay sila ng mga experience, or like minsan, di ba nagabigay sila experiences, minsan kaya di ba ginahayaan nila tayo na magbigay din ng experience natin. So, kapag once na ginagawa, or the more na ginagawa natin yon, mas lalo tayong motivated and mas lalo nating naiintindihan yung lesson natin. So, dapat ganun yung way, or ganun dapat para mas lalo tayong matuto and mas lalo tayong motivated sa sarili natin. Kasi alam natin na may mga taong willing makinig sa side natin. And dapat ganun din tayo. Pag once na may nag-open sa atin or may nagabigay ng suggestion and opinion, dapat makinig din tayo. Kasi pag tayo yung nagabigay ng suggestion and opinion sa kanila, pinapakinggan nila tayo. So, dapat give and take lang. So, yan. So, number 3, the need to achieve. Ang pangangailangan na ma-achieve ang goal ay mas nagpupush sa estudyante na galingan at ipagmalaki ang kanilang accomplishment. Pero dapat may limits rin, and also natatakot na mabigo. So, ang mga estudyante ay motivated na ma-achieve ang goals ay kadalasang handang harapin ang mga gawain at tumatanggap ng feedback para gumaling pa. Samantalang yung mga natatakot mag-fail ay mas pinipili ang madadaling task para iwas pahiya or kahihiyan. So, 'di ba, as a student, 'di ba pag once na tama yung ginagawa natin, 'di ba ginapagmalaki natin siya sa family, friends, or yung sa mga tao sa paligid natin, 'di ba? Ginasabi talaga natin sa kanila kasi pag once na ganun, parang the more na ginagawa mo yun, the more na motivated ka i-share kung ano yung mga achievement mo sa life. Tapos 'di ba, tama din na kapag once na natatakot ka mag-fail, mas pinipili yung mag-pass, pinipili mo yung mga madadaling task para hindi ka nahihirapan. Pero guys, alam nyo ba na mas maganda piliin yung mga mahihirap kasi the more na nahihirapan ka, the more na may natutunan ka. Kasi kapag once na madali lang yung mga gawain natin, parang wala lang sa atin. Parang chill-chill lang sa atin. Parang chill-chill lang tayo kasi alam natin sa sarili natin na kaya natin siya. Which is, may mga times talaga na hindi siya maganda. Kasi the more na ganun tayo, the more na parang hindi tayo nag-grow sa sarili natin. Kasi dapat, pag gusto mo yung isang bagay, paghirapan mo siya para ma-achieve mo siya. So, ganun siya. That's all. Thank you.
A pleasant day to each and everyone, especially mom. I am by Asna Yubangan. So today I'm going to discuss about the types of motivation. So when we say motivation, it means ito yung dahilan na nagpo-force sa atin na kumilos o gawin ang isang bagay. Kumbaga, ito yung sagot sa mga questions natin kung bakit ba natin ginagawa ang isang bagay. For example, what's the reason why we need to study? Bakit ba natin kailangan maghanap buhay? So, all the what and why questions in our mind, dyan lang umiikot sa word na motivation ang sagot, which is yan yung guide or goals natin para gawin ang gusto nating gawin. We have two types of motivation, the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. In intrinsic motivation, it means kapag gumagawa ka ng isang bagay dahil sa sarili mong kagustuhan o kasiyahan. For example, reading a book. Binabasa mo yung book dahil gusto mo yung mga stories nito. Or playing a sport kasi alam mong actively and fun siyang gawin. Sa madaling salita, it comes from within you. When it comes naman in extrinsic motivation, ito naman ay ginagawa mo lang yung isang bagay dahil ina-avoid mo na magkaroon ng punishment or mapagalitan ka. Kumbaga ba, external reward. For example, studying hard to get good grades. Of course, ang ini-aim mo lang ay good grades para hindi ka mapagalitan. Kumbaga, ginagawa mo lang siya ng sapilitan, hindi genuinely na gusto mo. It comes from outside you. Let's proceed to Maslow's theory of motivation and needs. We have 5 motivational needs who arranged by Abraham Maslow in 1943. We have physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. In physiological needs, these are the most basic needs for survival. Ito yung mga kailangan natin sa pang-araw-araw, gaya ng tubig, pagkain, and most especially ang tirahan. In safety needs, this involves feeling secure and safe from danger, gaya ng stable na trabaho or ligtas na tirahan. In social needs or love and belonging, ito yung mga tao na gustong makipag-socialize or makipagkaibigan sa maraming tao. And being acceptable or being accepted from others. In esteem needs naman, it means yung mga people na they need to feel important and respected. From the word esteem, pinapahalagan natin yung respect of others. And most especially, it includes our self-confidence and boosts our pride. And lastly, the self-actualization needs. Ito naman yung tinatawag nating becoming the best version of yourself, kung saan sinisikap mong ma-reach yung mga personal goals mo to become a person who fulfill a full potential. It is also known as highest level of motivational needs. So if you can observe, these 5 needs is magkakasunod-sunod sila from the lowest to the highest.
So, good morning everyone. So, good morning ma'am. My name is Barbie S. Malinpinit. So, today we're going to discuss is all about the motivational factors of a learners. So, when we say motivational factors of a learners, it can be positive or negative impact of a learners. So first is the psychosocial needs. So first, I would like to read from the PPT. So psychosocial needs arise from the individual because she is part of a group or social settings. Learning takes place with oneself and hands when a student is within a group or learners. So psychosocial needs, these are needs that come from the other person and their interaction with other people and also to socialize with other because as a learner, they need to feel they are belong, respected, and also part of a group. So, according to Heidegger 1971, the teacher should concern with the following. So, first is a security. So, ang security is, ito yung nafe-feel ng isang learner when they are secure, safety, emotionally, physically, and mentally. So, kapag secure ang isang learner is mas nagiging confident siya when it comes in their learning ability. Next is the anxiety. So, ang anxiety naman is kapag nakakaramdam tayo ng kaba or pag-aalala na baka sa takot is magkamali or mabigo, which is naaapektuhan din yung learning abilities ng isang learner. Like for example, kapag yung isang student is meron siyang anxiety, hindi siya nakaka-focus sa isang bagay. Parang nagiging lutang siya sa lahat ng bagay. So, next is the frustration. So, hindi ko na po babasahin yung PPT. I-discuss ko na lang po kung ano yung definition niya. So, ang frustration naman is, ito yung kumbaga, nanghihina yung loob mo or nadi-discourage ka sa mga bagay kasi hindi mo na-achieve yung gusto mong goal sa sarili mo. So, even though na nag-aaral ka, nagsisikap ka, so, in short, parang nadidismaya ka sa sarili mo. So, next is the independence. So, ang independence naman is, ito yung kaya mo nang tumayo sa sarili mong paa. Alam mo na yung mga rules and regulations. And also, alam mo na yung responsibility mo as a learner. So, next is the assertions. So, ang assertion is, means confidence of statement, of fact and belief. It is express someone to express their opinion, thought, belief clearly. So, ito yung matatag na pagpapahayag ng opinion mo or paninindigan mo sa mga bagay. So, next is the achievements. So, achievement is all of us have achievements, have goal to be succeed. So, ang achievements is ito yung mga sleepless night, yung mga hard work, yung mga confidence, and also, ang achievements natin is, ito yung mga natatanggap natin as maliit man yan or malaki as long as na pinaghirapan natin, matatawag na natin yan na achievement. So next is the recognitions. So ang recognitions is ito yung pagkilala or acknowledgement sa mga bagay na nagawa natin sa sarili natin. So we're recognized by the other people by means of our achievements. So kumbaga being appreciated or praised by the other people for what I have done or achieved. So next is participations. So we participate by sharing our ideas, thoughts, and knowledge. Like for example, parang ito yung nakikibahagi tayo ng kaalaman. Like for example, sa isang classroom, nagbigay si ma'am ng activity. So bawat isa sa atin is nagko-cope up ng knowledge kung ano ba yung pwedeng isuggest, kung ano ba yung pwedeng gagawin with that activity. So next is interest. So, ang interest naman po, it is a psychological state where individual is engaged and curious to motivated someone topic or activity. So, kumbaga, ito naman yung gusto mong matutunan yung mga bagay na nagko-curious ka. Parang, kumbaga, pagkahilig or gusto mo siyang subukan, parang may interest ka na, paano kaya siya gawin? Like, for example, gusto mong matutong sumayaw. Parang nagko-curious ka, ano kaya yung mga step na dapat gawin siya, no? Diba? Parang may interest ka na gusto mong gayahin yun. So, next is the religious need. So, mean our inner desire to do good and have relationship of God. So, I know individual of us have belief and traditions, but different lang tayo ng perspective. But isa lang din yung sinasamba natin. So, the next one is the incentives. So, ang incentives po is tumutukoy sa isang bagay para ma-encourage or ma-motivate yung isang student na mag-continue or mas galingan niya palalo sa kanyang ginagawa. So, next is in letter E, the praise and reproof. So, sa praise and reproof po, ito na yung tumutukoy sa lahat ng idea ng tao, even though na iba yung gender nila, culture, and also ng background. So, parang may physical and psychological needs sila na dapat ma-recognize. So, it means parang gusto ng bawat isa na ma-recognize or ma-appreciate sila sa kanilang ginagawa. And letter B is the competitions. So, ang competition po, it helps you push yourself harder and share your capabilities and excellence. So, ginagawa ito siya ng isang tao para mapatunayan niya sa sarili niya na kaya niya mag-excel sa lahat ng bagay. So, kumbaga, we accept other people to achieve our goals and also our objectives. So, in letter C is knowledge of progress. Ibig sabihin nito is student need to know kung gaano naka-improve yung knowledge nila and also kung may progress ba sa kanilang ginagawa. So, they know it through self-evaluation, through tests, examinations, assignment, and conference with the teacher. So, dapat updated sila sa performance nila para alam nila kung may improvement ba and also may progress ba sa kanilang ginagawa. So, next is the school marks. So, sa school marks is, ito naman yung mga grade and score ng mga student within in the classroom. So, it helps the student to motivate them, especially when they pass the exams, assignments, quizzes, and etc. So, that's why school marks stimulate schoolworks because napapagana nila yung eagerness ng student na mag-aral ng mabuti. So, next is the exhibiting good works. It means when student experiencing the joy of doing their best and they become motivated to continue producing good work and excellence work. And in letter F, it is game or play. Sa game or play, it is learning become fun and effective through games and play. Like for example, si teacher is nagbigay siya ng activity or palaro sa mga student. So, hindi lang siya basta palaro, but meron ding knowledge na napupulot yung mga student doon sa laro na binibigay ni teacher. So next is in letter G, the examinations. So examination is a part of a students. No, sa pamamagitan ng examination is natetest ni teacher yung knowledge ng isang student, yung capabilities ng isang student. Diba bawat isa naman sa atin is nakakaranas ng practical examinations. So dito po malalaman ni teacher at ng student kung saan ba sila mas magaling, kung saan ba sila mas lamang, and also kung ma-improvement ba sa kanilang ginagawa or progress. Next is sa Dean List. So sa Dean List naman, it is a recognitions na binibigay sa student na may mataas na academic performance. So in short, being a Dean List shows academic excellence and dedications for our learners. So next is in letter I, the emulations. It is a motivates learners na mag-strives for excellence while maintaining respect and kindness toward others. So it is all about improving yourself, not degrading others, no, not putting others down. And next is the material reward. So these rewards encourage student to perform well. Like example ng material reward, yung mga certificate, medal, gifts, so on and so forth. So ang material reward is ito yung binibigay sa student, kumbaga parang pampasigla or parang pampagana, di ba? So dapat turuan din natin sila ng intrinsic motivations, no? Na parang ninanais nila matuto kahit walang reward na binibigay sa kanila. And also, like for example, may mga student na nag-aaral lang dahil sa reward, hindi para gusto nilang matuto. So the last one is punishment. So ang punishment, it is used to teach respect, discipline, and responsibility. So ang punishment po ay isang uri ng intrinsic motivations na parang ginamotivate mo yung isang learners or student na turuan ng respeto and also ng discipline. Kasi dati, nung unang panahon, ang punishment is ginagamit nila into a negative way. Parang literal na pinapunish nila yung mga student. But ngayon, ang punishment po is ginagamit into positive way. Nagpa-punishment yung mga teacher para hindi ipahiya yung mga student, no? Para mabago sila sa lifestyle nila o routine nila. Like for example, may mga student na palaging late yung routine nila. Parang, kumbaga si teacher is pinapunish sila para mabago yung lifestyle nila.
So good day everyone, I am Queen JB Bayani. So my topic is all about importance of motivation of learning. So number 1, to stimulate and facilitate learning activity. So bilang estudyante, kailangan natin ng motivation para ma-encourage tayo na matuto and also para magkaroon ng gana and inspiration sa ating ginagawa sa pang-araw-araw. So, kapag meron tayong courage and inspiration, mas nagiging madali ang ginagawa natin and mas lalo nating na-enjoy and mas larong parang smooth lang yung process ng learning natin. So, yun yung meaning ng stimulate and facilitate learning activity. So, number 2, learning is an active process and students need to motivate and guided toward desirable ends. So, bilang estudyante o bilang mag-aaral, ay hindi basta-basta pakikinig lang ang dapat ginagawa natin sa ating klase. Dapat may lakas rin tayo at may guide para makarating tayo sa tamang destination o magandang resulta ng ating pag-aaral. Kasi hindi lang pwede na sabihin lang natin na magpasok lang tayo araw-araw para sa attendance lang, kundi para matuto din. And lalo pang mas marami yung kaalaman natin. So yung ibig sabihin ng learning is an active process and students need to motivate and guided toward desirable ends. So number 3, learning is self-initiated, but it must be aided by motivates or incentives so that the learner will persist in the learning activity. So, kahit gustong mong matuto sa sarili mong paraan, mas nagiging tuloy-tuloy ka kapag may rason ka sa araw-araw na ginagawa mo. Kasi kahit sabihin natin na gusto nating matuto sa sarili natin, mas maganda pa rin talaga kapag may reason kung bakit gusto natin gawin or bakit gusto nating matuto sa ginagawa natin. So, yun. Yun na nga, yung reason at nagbibigay inspiration good para mas lalo tayong ganahan gawin yung isang bagay kasi alam natin na maliban sa kaya natin, alam natin na may inspiration tayo, may purpose kung bakit natin yun ginagawa. So number 4, a definite motivate or insensitive is a variable in all prospective activities. As motivates and insensitives will prepare the student to learn. So kapag may malinaw kang dahilan kung bakit ka nag-aaral, mas madali kang makafocus and mas lalo kang nagiging prepared sa mga lesson o gawain mo sa school araw-araw. So number 5, the greater the readiness to learn, the greater attention will be given to work on hand and the sooner the desired result will be achieved. So, kung handa ka talaga at gusto mo talagang matuto, mas nakakapag-focus ka sa ginagawa mo. Kaya mas mabilis mong nakukuha ang gusto mong resulta or mas mabilis mong natutunan kung ano bang dapat gawin mo. So, ganun. So, number 6. It is important to get the learner into a state of readiness to learn, for it increases alertness, vigor, and wholeheartedness of learning. So kapag mentally at emotionally ready, and pag mentally and emotionally ready ang student, mas alert siya, mas energetic, at mas ganado sa pag-aaral sa araw-araw. So, number 7. One sure way to operationalize the law of effect is to assist the learner in achieving ends and purposes which she desires to attain. So, ang isang paraan para mas effective matuto ang estudyante ay tulungan siyang ma-achieve ang goals na gusto niya. Kasi doon siya mas motivated at mas determinado. Kapag once na alam mo sa sarili mo kung saang paraan mas napapadali ka, mas lalo kang nagiging ganado and mas lalo mong ma-achieve kung ano yung gusto mo. So, yun.
So, assessing motivation among learners. So, first one is the previous learning experience. So, this involves looking at a student's past positive and negative outcomes from learning process. So, this past experience greatly influenced their current expectation and attitude toward new subjects. So, the next one naman is the personal attitude and belief about learning. So, this assesses the student's personal reason for learning, such as their goal for nursing or caring for patients. So the third is the readiness to learn. So this aspect cover factors like a student existing interest in the subject matter and other life factors such as their family situation. So the next is the availability of resources to support learnings. So assessing if students have access to essential tools like library, computer access, social support, or financial resources is important.